Today seems like a great day to dive in. So let's do that. Question: what do you do when you're put in a position where you feel like God placed you there, but you're surrounded by all the temptations God warned you about at the same time? Which way do you go? Which way are you turning? So this morning I was watching. Normally I start my morning off with a sermon. Lately, it's either been a sermon or spending time with God. I always make sure that I read my Bible. And sometimes, let me not say always make sure. Sometimes in the morning it get away from me. And at night I get too tired to do it. But I feel so overwhelmed by anxiety when I don't. Like, I be upset with myself. So I'm like, if I didn't read it tonight, I think, ask God for forgiveness. Let me get back to it in the morning. And you'll get that feeling of kind of like conviction to make sure you do it the more you read it. And that's a good thing, because you can spend your time doing all the things in the world, but you don't spend time with the person who made the world. I said all that to say that I started my morning off this morning, and this morning was a little different. Normally I start my morning off, like I was saying, with like a sermon, and I read my Bible and I get to know God. So that's how I normally start my morning off. And this morning I didn't. I decided to watch a conversation between two celebrities who are in the gospel realm. And in the conversation, one of the people were saying, how do you, know the difference? Like, how is it that you still want the worldly things? Like, you can still want the worldly things, like the success, the fame. You can still want that and still, want what God has for you. And as I sat, God just started to speak to me. As the one person was saying that, the other person came back and said, they were placed in a situation with people who were not, I thank God, when you go out to say things, and it's not to say that they don't thank him. It's just that their life shows different, and that's okay. Everybody is on their journey in their own way. But that person was stating that he got invited to a party with alcohol and all these type of things, that weren't God-like. But the person who invited him knew that he was on the path. That's what he was there for, to let people know about God. But you invited him somewhere that there wasn't any God things happening there. There wasn't anything that they should have been a part of happening there. And they went. And again, I'm not on here to make anybody feel bad, or because you're brave enough to tell your story, you're brave enough to say, hey, I made this mistake, still trying to figure out who I am. And that happens. We all backtrack. We all go places we shouldn't go because we follow what's going on. We want, everybody wants to be loved in some type of way, or everybody wants to be seen in some type of way. So if I feel like, dang, I made it, I'm here. Or if I feel like, dang, they kind of see me, they know who I am. I got, what I want in that sense. And it's not just fame. It don't have to be about fame. It can be about life in general. It can be about your group of people. It can be about the job that you're in. It can be about the career that you're in. It can be about they see me. They finally see me. Because a lot of the times we walk through life and we feel like we're not seen. And especially when we're going towards the goals and dreams that God has set out for us. Of course, we want people to know, yeah, he called me here. Yeah, he got me here. Yeah, he placed me here. But when we get to the position that we're in, when we get to the place that we're supposed to be, are we leaving God behind, or is he still there with us? Because of course, all day, every day, he is definitely the reason. But in that, do we get lost in the worldly things? Because he placed you there, but it kind of feels like maybe you left him behind or you forgot. Because at the end of the day, when you look at certain situations, that one of the people also said, like when you go somewhere and you say, oh, well, I'm okay with just getting this amount as long as, God said it's okay. And like, no, that's not true. Well, for some people, it is true. And again, everybody lives their life according to the way that they live it. This podcast will reach who it's meant to reach. If only 5 people come, if only 10 people come, if I can reach one person with this podcast every time I post something, that's good enough for me. Because what they say, when people finally come to God, the angels are praising God and rejoicing. I rejoice, because the closer I can get somebody to know who God called them to be, or to have a close relationship with the man who created them, baby, that's a whole flex all by itself. I don't need nothing else. So going through watching that, right? God he brought back to me the story of Lot, and in regards to him being close to Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, if you don't know, Sodom and Gomorrah was eventually destroyed because they was doing too much. God was like, y'all playing on my top? I don't appreciate it. I keep giving y'all chances. Abraham even spoke up for them, which he was Abram at first. He spoke up on behalf of them. God, if it's this many people, can you let it go? If it's like, he kept doing it to try to, get God to forgive. But at the end of the day, what they were doing was just too much for God. Y'all taking this life that I'm giving y'all for granted. Y'all doing evil. Y'all doing all this extra kind of stuff. And I'm not okay with it, which is what he said. And what does that remind you of? This world. You hear people talk a lot about the last days, and you can tell there's something happening. And this world is so crazy right now. Everything is everywhere, which is true. But the last days can go on forever, and nobody knows when that is. Only God himself. So in Genesis, starting in chapter 12, Abraham takes Lot with him on his journey that God had sent him on. Abraham is Lot's uncle. So they're going on this journey that God basically sent Abraham on, like, leave your family, leave your country, leave your people behind. I'm gonna bless you. So Lot ends up going with him. So around chapter 13 of Genesis, Abraham and Lot separated. Okay, I'm gonna read that. So starting in chapter 13. So Abraham went up from Egypt to Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abraham had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. From the Negev, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abraham called on the name of the Lord. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abraham, also had flocks and herds and tents. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. Let's stop. Quarreling comes from the word quarrel. The definition says a heated argument or disagreement, typically about a tribal issue and between people who are usually on good terms. So they were starting to quarrel, and they're usually on good terms. Abraham said to Lot, starting at 8, still in chapter 13, let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your hurdlers and mine, for we are close relatives. It's not the whole land before you. Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. Now let's stop. See? So it wasn't working out between them. I don't want to argue with you. You my relative. We close. Like, let's just pull this apart, because I don't want possessions to get in the way of, who we are together. And a lot of times we don't do that. We just let money and things break us up, and we shouldn't. So continuing on to chapter 10, it said, Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan towards Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abraham lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plains and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. The Lord said to Abraham after Lot had parted from him, look around from where you are to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the land and breathe of the land, for I am giving it to you. So Abraham went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tent. There he built an altar to the Lord. So a lot can be said about that. So they were together. Lot ended up leaving. Him and Abraham agreed to separate because they were starting to quarrel. They were starting to get into it, and they were typically on a, good terms. But of course, when you start to get more, you start to develop more, it was more along the lines of their people, the people that Lot had and the people that Abram had, that were quarreling more, but it was causing them to quarrel as well. So they decided to part ways, but in the midst of parting ways, Abraham went a different direction than Lot. And where Lot chose to go was close to the evil. Now, he wasn't necessarily in it. You know how we try to ride the lines We try to find the fine line between it's okay and it's not okay. That's where he was at. He decided to go right there next to the wickedness. And in the sense of that, how do you feel like you're going to be right there next to the wickedness, but not join in the wickedness? For the longest time, I wanted to be a singer. And I decided to change that the more I started to see how the world was. I love singing. I love singing for God. I just used to like singing. It could be R&B, pop. I just used to like singing. And this, before I got closer to God, you can tell me I wasn't going to be an R&B singer. I didn't have to be famous. If I got to go to these little side bars or these little hole in the walls and sing and make people happy, that's what I was going to do. Life got in the way, and just me growing up got in the way, and it changed my perspective on a lot of things. Of course, you hear all these stories. You don't really know what's true. You hear every size of stories, but I allow God to do what he's going to do with me. And I know that in that part of what the world was becoming, I didn't want to be a part of that. So it went more into, if I'm going to sing for the Lord. If that's something that the Lord ends up bringing me out in front of people, then that's what he does. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. But I don't want what God blessed me with to change my assignment, because we would like to think that it won't, but it can. Just if you go back to the beginning of my podcast where I said it was a person that was placed in a position that God placed them in, but it was being tested. The situation, the place that they were at, the people they were surrounded by, it was being tested. And sometimes God does that on purpose. You have God who tests you, but you also have the devil who's like, okay. I don't really need to do it if you gonna do it yourself. Like, he gonna sit back and he gonna let you make your own decisions as well. If he know that you're heading in a direction that he don't need to help you make, what? I don't gotta do nothing. You're gonna do it yourself. We have to learn what's not okay and what's okay. We have to learn when to pull ourselves out of situations and when not to. We try to walk on this fine line of I'm all about God. I'm all about him. When it benefits me. And then when I want to live my life the way I want to live my life, then that's what it is. I don't want you to tell me something and then somebody come to me and say, oh, well, they just, now all of a sudden they just into God. They know better. No, it's not that. It's that as you grow closer to God, you start to feel different about different choices that you're making. You start to feel different about the different things that are around you, the places that you're going, the things that you're doing that you used to be okay with. You start to feel different about them. Like, nah, I can't. Like, nah, I don't want to. Like, let's do something else. And you have to pay attention to the people that's around you, because if you know that you're moving in a different direction. Now, this happened to me. I'm moving in a different direction. I'm going in a different direction. And I go to somebody's house that they know that I'm moving in a different direction. And we playing games. And the game that you choose is a drinking game. Come on. Am I tempted to drink? Of course. Will I drink? Maybe. And then I have to ask for forgiveness. But you know what? In the same sense, I should have never put myself in that position in the first place. You're going to be tempted. That's a part of living this life. You're going to be tempted whether you're in your Bible, whether you're getting to know God or not. It's up to you to make the decision. It's up to you to make the decision. So that's 13. Now let's go into 14. Abraham has to rescue Lot. Abraham is still Abram at this point, but he has to rescue Lot. You want to know why? Because Lot was hanging. He was chilling right next to the madness. He was chilling. And even though he wasn't a part of it, you can get wrapped up in something that had nothing to do with you just because you were close to it. But sometimes you could be at the wrong place, knowing you wasn't supposed to be right there, and get wrapped up in something that had nothing to do with you. Don't have anything to do with you, but because you chose to go close to it, but because you chose to just hang around it just a little bit, floating the lines, then it's okay. I've experienced this, y'all. I've experienced this. And it's not to make anybody feel different or bad about anything that's going on. We learn and we grow in different ways. I have been to situations where it was supposed to be a God conversation. Literally, we all gathered together to talk about God. And in the midst of that, they pull out beers. They're drinking beer during Bible study. Why? You're going to do what you're going to do anyway. But when you're taking time to spend time with God, why is that not something that can wait? Because let me tell you something. If there is somebody who is getting to know God for the first time, if there's somebody who sees you and decides, well, they seem like that they're headed in the right direction towards getting to know God. They seem like, or I can see that they're taking the steps. They're going to this, they're going to this group, they're worshiping, they're serving, they're doing all these things, right? They look like they're going in the right direction. You invite me somewhere, and then I go there, and then this is what they see. Not only is that a reason why people tend to not take Christians seriously, but it's also something that has to be said about, we have to be better for the people that are trying to go closer to God. We can't show them that this is okay. This isn't okay. Just like I stated, when I used to sing worship and I would see people they would contract out to sing somewhere, and in the back, they're talking about, okay, after I finish this, I'm going to drink. God is not even the focus of their morning. When they're going out there worshiping people and bringing closer to God, he's not even the focal point. What's happening afterwards is. And we all struggle with this. I struggle with this. But I can say one thing that I've gotten better. I can say one thing that I've learned. And in every situation that I've brought up today, I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to say that nobody learned. Because the situation that I brought up earlier, that was past tense. So for you to be able to speak it up and to say, this is what happened, this is where I was, I'm going to say, of course, you noticed that it wasn't okay and you move forward in a different direction. But I don't know anything for sure. But God does. He expects so much more from us. He expects us to do so much better than we've been doing. The new song that's out, I want to say her name is Taryn. It's called Honestly, We Need Jesus. And let me tell y'all something. She hit the nail right on the head. Honestly, I think we just need Jesus. Nothing more, nothing less. Because that's what it is. We need Jesus. We need him in every part of our life. We need him in everything that we do. We need him when we make decisions. We need him when we feel like we made it in the world that's worldly. We need him when we feel like we're toting the line. We need him when we're flickering. I watched Pastor Jerry Flowers on his last sermon that he had, and he was talking about flickering Christians. When we pick and choose what we want to do when we want to do it based off where we at in our life. And at what point are you going to stop flickering and get closer to him to where you don't have to tote the line? And it's not to say that you won't have times where you feel like, I want to go back. This ain't for me. That's going to happen. You're a normal person. It's going to happen. But don't place yourself there intentionally and then saying you're trying to get better. Because no, you're not. Like let's be for real. So in chapter 14, when Abraham rescues Lot, they're fighting. It's a war going on. And I'm going to start at chapter 10. It says, now the valley of Sidon was full of tar pits. And when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of the men flew into them and the rest fled to the hills. The 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their food. Then they went away. They also carried off Abraham's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. So he went from living near there to living in there. Got carried away. When Abraham heard, this is starting at 14, when Abraham heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abraham divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hope, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative's Lot and his possessions, together with the women and other people. Now, after he brought them back, of course, the kings of Sodom. So the king said to Abraham, give me the people and keep the goods for yourself. Starting at 22, it says, but Abram said to the king of Sodom with raised hand, I have sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread of a strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. I will accept nothing but what my man hath eaten and the share that belongs to the man who went with me. We give too much credit to man. That's what that says. He said, I won't even allow you to get, bruh, y'all. He said a strap of his sandal. I'm not allowing you to give me anything. So you can say you're the reason for anything. So you can say it was by my doing. No, that's only left to God. God get that. That's God's job. That's what God did. Because what? God did. What? Who did? God did. Like, there's no question. I don't even want you to question it. Ain't that something? He didn't even want them to question it. Not at all. Because I don't even want you to assume that you play any part in this. We give the world too much credit for the things that are happening in the world. We give people too much credit for things that are happening in the world. We give too much credit to everything except for God. Everything. Oh, it was me. It was my hard work. It was me who did it. And your hard work contributed to it. But that's all it did. It contributed to it. Because what's going to happen is going to happen. Now, God allows you free will to make decisions that can move you in a different direction. So you can either go backwards or you can go forward. You can come to a halt. You can do a stance. Any of that. He will allow you to make your own. He'll allow you to make your own decisions, and whatever happens in that sense happens in that sense. But we have to remember that God is always there, and it's us who keep leaving him behind, thinking that we don't need him when we get to a place where we made it, or we feel like we're in that position. And then you place me next to people who say they're for you, but they see me living for you, and they try to bring me farther away from you. How does that work? How does that work? I have been going through the loneliest season of my life, y'all. The loneliest season. And I've been trying to figure out why. Why am I so lonely in this season? And I get that God is pulling me away, trying to show me things that was happening to me that I was letting go on too much. How I brought up the game night with the drinking games, I placed myself in that position, not the people who invited me. Because if it was so much of a bad idea when I got there and I seen that's what it was, respectfully, I'm going to have to go. Respectfully, this isn't a place for me. But I stayed. And it's not just that one time. As life goes on, you kind of feel and you kind of get a feel for people and where they are in their journey. And it's okay if they're not on the same journey as you, but you have to understand where you are so that people that are trying to live for God know where you are and where they're trying to be. Because if they see you keep backtracking and you keep making excuses on why you backtracking, and it's okay, God, forgive me, and he will, but he's going to hold you accountable. And I think that we lose sight of that. So I'm going to skip all the way to Genesis 19. And this is when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. In chapter 17, before that, Abraham, he pleaded for Sodom with God. The Lord said to Abraham, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great and their sin is so grievous that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will know. So God is saying, I've heard the cries. I've heard the prayers. I've heard the need for my assistance. I've heard it. And I have to go see for myself, because if it's what it is, if this is what I'm seeing, then it can't be. This can't be. I have to destroy it. And you have Abraham who's saying, Lord, will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous and the wicked alike. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of all the earth do right? And the Lord said, if I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake. Then Abraham just kept asking him, if I be bold enough to speak, what if there are 45 there? He went from, what if there are 45 there? What if there are 40 there? What if there are 20 there? What if there are 10 there? He just kept asking, God, please, God, please, God, please. So starting at chapter 19, it says, the two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway. So Lot went back to Sodom. So you got carried away from being close to it at first. First you were close to it. You went from being close to it to in it. You got carried away when you were in it, and you went back. You can't tell me this is not life. We be thinking stuff is happening that's new. It is not new. We'll have stuff go wrong for us and know it went wrong for us, and we go back. Why? They snatched you up with something that ain't even had nothing to do with you, and you went back? Baby. Let me get back to it. I'm telling y'all, the Bible is a soap opera. Please read it. But it's a real life soap opera. Seriously. Have you glued. Once you start reading it, baby, don't take my word for it. Then the two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly that they go with him and entered his house. So he let them go in his house. And as he let them go in his house, the men of Sodom was trying to get in his house. Like, who told you to let them in here? They don't belong in here. It was a lot. Bring them out so we can do things to them. And he was like, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Trying to find different ways to get them to leave, saying that they have come under the protection of his roof, which they have. And they like, get out of my way. This fella came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. So this ain't even you in the wrong town. Where you at? This ain't even your place. You know, people be telling you, get out my city, this my town, goofiness. This is what they was on. Like I said, ain't nothing new under the sun. Like, who are you to think that you gonna come here as a foreigner? This ain't even where you from to tell us what we about to do. So after this, they kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. So starting at 9, it said, get out of our way. They replied, this fella came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward toward the door. They moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so they could not find the door. The two men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here, sons-in-law, sons, or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against his people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws, who were pleaded to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, hurry, take your wife and your daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the man grasped his hand and the hand of his wife and of his 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful of them. As soon as they brought them out, one of them said, flee for your lives. Don't look back. Don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. They helped him out. Did you hear him? When he hesitated, the man grasped his hand and said, come on, we got you. Don't worry about it. Don't look back. It's okay. God got you. Don't look back. It's okay. God got you. Don't look back. It's okay. God got you. How many times do we look back? How many times do we say, well, I had more friends at this time when I was doing this? Or feel like I had more people that were around me, that loved me, that, that looked out for me, that were willing to go to bat for me when I was back then, when I wasn't so lonely, back then, when my life was better, when I could go out and laugh and giggle and dance and party. Back then, it was better for me. But God said, take my hand. Don't look back. I got you. We have to let him do what it is that he wants to do and stop trying to get in the way. We have to allow him to do the work that he's meant to do without our help, because, as always, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need our help, but he does need our obedience. He does need us to lead the people that are trying to get closer to God, closer to him, and not push them further away. Because a lot of the times what people see from us is a lot of the reasons why they decide they don't. Is this the way Christians living? All you have to do is be next to somebody who's not at the stage of life that you're in for you to be pulled back to it. Is your will not strong enough? So you're trying to move me closer to something that you're not even there yet? You want to make me feel bad for something that you haven't even, that you're still struggling with? And throughout this podcast, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad for anything in your life, because I'm not perfect, and that's not what this is about. This is about realizing when we need to grow in our relationship with God and how we can get better in doing it, and how sometimes just being near it is bad, or bad for us when we're trying to grow. It's bad for our growth. It's bad for where we're trying to go. And everybody is not there yet. And that's okay. And don't make people feel bad because they're not there yet. Pray for them. Pray for you. That you get better. That your willingness to say no, and that your willingness to grow and say, hey, I thought that was for me, but that's not. Hey, this used to be cool with me, but that's not. People that remember who you used to be a week ago. If you changed, that's their problem. As long as God knows that you're walking in the direction that you need to go, because people are going to keep bringing up who you used to be. Especially from where you're from. Especially with people who feel like they know you. God said that. You'll get more love from people outside of your hometown, or outside of people who know you, or feel like, I'm going to say know you because we grow every day, who feel like they knew you. They're not willing to see the growth because they're not growing themselves. And that's something that they have to take up with God. Because the closer you get to God, the more you're willing to accept people for where they are, the more you're willing to see, oh, they're just not there yet. And that's okay. Grow and move. Grow and move. Grow and go. Just keep moving. Just keep growing. Just keep getting closer to him. Just keep reading your Bible. Just keep understanding what it is. And when you get to certain situations, or you get to places where God placed you, because when you get there, your life will be so glorious. And this is what we fail to realize. When God places us in a place and we are tested and we pass that test and we keep walking in his way, giving him glory, giving him praise for the things that he's done, not walking a thin line, our life is going to be abundantly blessed anyway. We don't need to tote the line or feel like we have to fit in with this crowd or that crowd in order to get where we need to go. He gonna push us there, and ain't nobody gonna be able to close that door that he opened at all. I hope that this was a good one. God put this on my mind early this morning, and normally I wait and I take a step back, but he was giving me one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And it was something that he wanted me to say to everybody. So in the midst of me speaking, I not only speak to myself when I'm talking on these podcasts, I speak to everybody who's struggling to try to find their way, who's struggling to try to figure out if this Christian journey is for me, because I don't want to be perfect, or I don't want to feel like I have to be perfect. I want to feel like I'm growing. I want to feel like that I struggle from time to time, but I'm trying to get better, that I want to get better, that I want to be better. I want those people to be okay with knowing that it's okay to struggle, that it's okay to stumble and fall. Take accountability. He gonna hold you accountable, but take accountability for where you are. So therefore, when you move forward, you can know, I remember what that was like, and be okay with the fact that you're no longer there. You get to a point where you don't even feel like, oh, well, you don't even feel like you're missing out. That's the crazy part. The closer you get to God, and the closer you know that you're living the way that he wants you to, you don't even feel like you're missing out. I'm alone because he wants me alone. And when I need to be surrounded, he'll surround me. I believe that with all my heart. As always, I hope this podcast blessed you and didn't run you away. But what's meant to be will be. And I'm okay with that. I love y'all. Be back.